What if I told you that the city once branded as America's ultimate escape is now the place people are desperately trying to escape from? Las Vegas, the neon oasis that promised cheap living, endless sunshine, and a life without state income tax, has become a trap that's forcing thousands of families to pack up and leave within their first year. The dream of desert living is collapsing under the weight of brutal realities that real estate agents conveniently forget to mention. In this countdown, we're exposing the brutal realities hiding behind the desert mirage and why relocating to Las Vegas right now could wreck your finances, your future, and your family's well-being. Number 9. The relentless heat that breaks you. Picture this. You arrive in Las Vegas during February. The temperature is a perfect 68 degrees. The desert sky stretches endlessly blue above you, and you're standing in your new backyard, thinking this might be the best decision you've ever made. Then summer hits. Suddenly, stepping outside at noon feels like opening a commercial oven set to broil. The asphalt radiates heat so intense your dog refuses to walk. Your steering wheel becomes too hot to touch without gloves. And that's not an exaggeration. It's July through September reality in a city where temperatures regularly breach 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's what newcomers don't grasp until they're living it. The heat in Las Vegas isn't just uncomfortable, it's financially devastating and genuinely dangerous. Air conditioning isn't a luxury here, it's life support. Families report electric bills hitting $500 to $700 per month just to keep their homes livable during peak summer. That's an extra $2,500 to $3,500 annually that never appeared in anyone's cost of living calculator. For retirees on fixed incomes or young families already stretched thin, those bills can be the difference between making it and breaking. The health risks are equally serious. Las Vegas now records more heat-related emergency room visits than almost any major city in America, rivaled only by Phoenix. Elderly residents face genuine danger during heat waves. Kids can't play outside for months. Even walking from your car to the grocery store becomes an ordeal that leaves you drenched in sweat and gasping for air. This isn't the pleasant warmth people imagine when they picture desert living. This is oppressive, unrelenting, and for many, unbearable. Then there's the psychological weight of it. When you can't enjoy your own backyard for 4 solid months, when every outdoor activity requires planning around the sun, when you start to feel like a prisoner in your own home, the appeal of no state income tax starts to feel hollow. Add in the existential dread of watching Lake Mead drop to historic lows, knowing your entire city's water supply hangs by a thread, and you start to understand why so many people arrive with excitement and leave with regret. But if you think battling the heat is tough, wait until you hear what happens when families with children realize the education system here is setting their kids up for failure. Number 8. Schools that drive parents away. Ask any parent why they left Las Vegas within 2 years of arriving, and before they even finish the question, you'll see their face change. The answer is always the same. The schools. Families who moved here chasing affordable housing and sunshine are fleeing because they refuse to sacrifice their children's future on the altar of tax savings. And the statistics back up their fears in the most devastating way possible. Clark County School District serves over 300,000 students, making it the 5th largest in the entire country. That sounds impressive until you dig into what that actually means for kids sitting in classrooms. Overcrowding is rampant. Teachers are stretched impossibly thin. Resources that parents took for granted in other states simply don't exist here. In a recent comprehensive study of the 50 largest metropolitan areas in America, Las Vegas ranked second to last in overall school quality. Let that sink in. Out of 50 major cities, only one scored worse. Parents moving from places like Colorado, Washington, or Massachusetts described the transition as shocking. Class sizes that seemed reasonable elsewhere balloon to 35 or 40 students per teacher here. Advanced programs get cut. Arts and music programs barely exist. Extracurricular activities that used to be standard now cost hundreds of dollars per child. And perhaps most alarming, reports of violence and behavioral issues inside schools have spiked dramatically since students returned from pandemic-era virtual learning. Parents are describing an environment where learning takes a back seat to simply managing chaos. So what's the alternative? Private schools. But quality private education in Las Vegas costs $15,000 to $25,000 per child annually. For a family with 2 kids, that's potentially $50,000 a year, on top of a $3,000 monthly mortgage or rent payment. The math simply doesn't work for middle-class families who moved here expecting affordability. They're faced with an impossible choice: condemn their children to a struggling public system or drain their savings trying to pay for private school. This is why education has become the final deal breaker. Parents will tolerate scorching summers. They'll adjust to high utility bills. They'll even make peace with job instability. But when they look at their 7-year-old struggling in an overcrowded classroom with outdated textbooks and exhausted teachers, something breaks. They start searching Zillow in other states. They begin planning their exit, because no amount of sunshine or tax breaks is worth watching your child fall behind. The cruel irony is that pockets of Las Vegas do have excellent schools, but they're concentrated in wealthy areas like Summerlin and parts of Henderson, where median home prices push $600,000 or more. For everyone else, the education lottery feels rigged, and when parents realize the game is fixed against them, they do what any protective parent would do. They leave. But even if you don't have kids, even if school quality means nothing to your situation, Las Vegas has a way of bleeding you dry through 1,000 small cuts you never saw coming. Number 7. The hidden costs that ambush your budget. Most people moving to Las Vegas do their homework on the big expenses. They calculate mortgage payments, factor in higher summer electricity bills, maybe even account for increased car insurance. What destroys budgets and drives people away are the smaller, relentless costs that compound month after month until you're drowning in expenses you never anticipated. Start with your vehicle. The desert doesn't just test humans, it actively destroys cars. Tires that should last 60,000 miles are lucky to survive 35,000 here before the rubber literally cracks from heat exposure. Paint fades faster. Dashboard materials warp and crack. Batteries die twice as quickly. Air conditioning systems work overtime until they fail. Locals joke that you should budget an extra $1,500 annually just for vehicle maintenance, and they're not exaggerating. When your car breaks down on Interstate 15, with the thermometer reading 118 degrees, you learn fast why locals obsess over vehicle upkeep. Then there's what experts call lifestyle creep. But in Las Vegas, it's more like lifestyle avalanche. Remember, you're living in the entertainment capital of the world. Every single weekend, world-class performers are playing residencies. Michelin-starred restaurants line the strip. Pool parties, nightclubs, and shows surround you constantly. The temptation to splurge is engineered into the city's DNA. What starts as, let's treat ourselves just this once, morphs into every weekend outings that add $500 to $800 monthly to budgets that were already tight. And we can't ignore the elephant in the room: gambling. Not everyone develops a problem, but constant exposure takes its toll. Slot machines sit in grocery stores, gas stations, and convenience stores. Casino apps ping your phone with promotions. The psychological pressure is real and relentless. For those susceptible to gambling addiction, Las Vegas is like asking an alcoholic to live inside a brewery. Even for casual gamblers, the easy access means money disappearing faster than planned. There's also the transient nature of the city itself. Unlike established communities where neighbors know each other for decades, Las Vegas churns. People move in, realize the reality doesn't match the dream, and move out. That constant turnover makes it nearly impossible to build the kind of deep friendships and community support networks that sustain people through hard times. For families who value stability and roots, the loneliness can be crushing. And loneliness, while not a line item on a budget, carries its own cost. Put it all together, and you see why so many newcomers arrive thinking they've found financial freedom, only to discover they're spending more than they ever did before. The death by 1,000 cuts is real, and when people finally add up all those hidden costs, the no state income tax benefit starts looking like a cruel joke. But if surprise expenses chip away at your bank account, the next factor on our list is even more devastating because it strikes at the very foundation of the American dream: owning your own home. Number 6. The housing market that locks you out. Imagine arriving in Las Vegas with dreams of home ownership, only to discover that the modest 3-bedroom house you're looking at sold for $118,000 back in 2012, but now carries a price tag of $485,000. That's not a typo. Housing prices in Las Vegas have exploded by roughly 300% in just over a decade, turning what was once one of America's most affordable cities into a market that prices out 2/3 of its own residents. Here's the brutal math. With mortgage rates hovering around 7% in 2025, a $485,000 home translates to a monthly payment of approximately $2,870 before you factor in property taxes, insurance, and HOA fees. Add those in, and most families are staring down $3,200 per month or more. To comfortably afford that payment, financial experts say you need an annual household income north of $115,000. But the median household income in Las Vegas sits around $72,000. The gap between what homes cost and what people actually earn is staggering. Renters aren't escaping this crisis either. A basic 2-bedroom apartment that rented for $1,200 just a few years ago now commands $2,000 or more. Over half of Nevada's renters are what economists call cost-burdened, meaning more than 35% of their income goes directly to keeping a roof over their heads. For young families and working-class newcomers, it's not just unaffordable anymore, it's completely unsustainable. The competition makes everything worse. Out-of-state investors, especially Californians cashing out of their inflated markets, swoop into Las Vegas with all-cash offers that blow past asking prices by tens of thousands of dollars. Local families trying to compete with traditional financing don't stand a chance. They're left watching helplessly as homes they wanted get snatched up by investors who'll either flip them or convert them into short-term rentals. Meanwhile, the supply side of the equation remains broken. State estimates show Las Vegas needs roughly 7,000 new apartment units every year just to keep pace with population growth and demand. The city isn't even close to meeting that target. When supply can't keep up with demand, prices do only one thing: they climb. And they've been climbing relentlessly. What used to be Las Vegas's biggest selling point, affordable housing, has become its greatest liability. Families who moved here thinking they'd finally achieve homeownership find themselves trapped in rental situations that eat up half their income. The dream turns into a cage. And when people realize they're working harder than ever just to tread water, they start looking for exits. They search for cities where their income actually matches housing costs. And Las Vegas loses another family who arrived with hope but left with bitterness. But even if you somehow manage to secure housing you can afford, there's another reality waiting that makes parents lie awake at night worrying about their family's safety. Number 5. Crime that erodes your peace of mind. The bright lights of the Las Vegas Strip dazzle tourists, but locals know a different truth. Once you step away from the heavily policed casino corridors, Las Vegas tells a much darker story. Statistically, the city ranks in the 35th percentile for safety nationwide, meaning 65% of American cities are objectively safer. For families trying to build a life here, that number isn't just a statistic. It's a daily source of anxiety. Property crime runs rampant. Talk to any long-time resident, and you'll hear stories of car break-ins, porch pirate package thefts, and home burglaries that seem to strike with disturbing regularity. Vehicles left in driveways overnight get windows smashed for a laptop bag or loose change. Amazon deliveries disappear within minutes of being dropped off. The constant vigilance required just to protect your belongings is exhausting. Violent crime rates sit above the national average, and while much of it concentrates in specific neighborhoods, the spillover affects everyone. Parents report alarming increases in school violence and behavioral incidents since students returned from pandemic virtual learning. Fights that used to be rare are now common. Some schools have installed metal detectors. Families who moved from smaller towns expecting suburban safety find themselves explaining to their children why they can't walk to the park alone anymore. The psychological toll is real. Many residents invest in home alarm systems, ring doorbells, reinforced doors, and security cameras. Those aren't just expenses, they're admissions that you don't feel safe in your own neighborhood. For people who've never had to think twice about walking after dark, or letting their kids play in the yard unsupervised, the adjustment is jarring and demoralizing. Metro Police do their best with the resources they have, and many neighborhoods have active community watch programs. But the sheer scale of Las Vegas makes comprehensive coverage impossible. For families who moved here seeking opportunity and sunshine, the trade-off of living with elevated crime becomes a deal breaker. Because when you don't feel safe in your own home, when you're constantly worried about your children's security at school, no amount of entertainment or tax savings makes it worth staying. Safety isn't just about statistics, it's about peace of mind. And when that peace erodes week after week, month after month, families make the hard choice to leave. They return to places where they can sleep without worrying about break-ins, where their kids can ride bikes without constant supervision, where normalcy doesn't require fortified doors and surveillance systems. But if crime threatens your sense of security, the next issue on our list threatens something even more fundamental: whether Las Vegas can sustain itself at all. Number 4. Water scarcity and the desert's revenge. Las Vegas has always been a city that defied nature, a glittering oasis rising from one of the driest deserts in North America. But in 2025, nature is pushing back hard, and for residents trying to build long-term lives here, water scarcity isn't just an environmental talking point. It's an existential threat that colors every decision. Consider the stark visual. Lake Mead, the massive reservoir that supplies roughly 90% of Las Vegas's water, has dropped to levels not seen since the 1930s. The iconic bathtub rings marking previous water levels are more than just striking photos. For news articles, they're warning signs of a system under catastrophic strain. The Colorado River, already over-allocated and shrinking, can't sustain current demand, and climate change ensures the problem will only intensify. To the city's credit, Las Vegas has achieved remarkable conservation milestones. Despite adding nearly 500,000 residents over the past 2 decades, the city actually uses less water today than it did 20 years ago. Aggressive recycling programs, lawn removal incentives, and strict efficiency mandates have worked. But for everyday residents, those achievements come with personal sacrifices that feel unequal and frustrating. Grass lawns are being ripped out and replaced with desert landscaping. Decorative fountains have been banned. Neighborhood pools face restrictions. Meanwhile, residents watch California continue to pump water into sprawling suburbs and keep golf courses emerald green. The resentment builds. Why are Nevadans shouldering the conservation burden while other states resist cutbacks? Beyond lifestyle inconvenience lies a deeper worry: long-term viability. Families thinking 20 or 30 years ahead, especially those with young children, increasingly question whether Las Vegas is sustainable. Will homes here even hold their value if water becomes scarcer? Will businesses continue investing in a city that might face severe rationing? These aren't hypothetical concerns anymore. They're real questions shaping real decisions. The heat compounds everything. Climate change means higher temperatures, more evaporation from reservoirs, and greater strain on already limited supplies. Every summer sets new records. Every year, the situation feels more precarious. And while city officials project confidence, residents see the bathtub rings at Lake Mead and wonder if that confidence is justified or just desperate optimism. Water is life, and when a city's access to water feels uncertain, when families worry about whether the taps will still flow for their grandchildren, they don't just stay and hope for the best. They make rational decisions to move somewhere greener, literally and figuratively, somewhere their future feels secure instead of hanging by a thread. But water scarcity raises questions about tomorrow. The next issue on our list affects people today, every single day, as they try to earn a living in a city whose economy rests on the shakiest possible foundation. Number 3. Job market instability that keeps you anxious. Las Vegas sells itself as a land of opportunity, but for many residents, that promise rings hollow. The city's economy has always leaned heavily on tourism, hospitality, and entertainment. When times are good, jobs flow freely. When times turn bad, the bottom drops out with terrifying speed. And that boom-bust roller coaster is driving thousands of families to seek stability in cities with more diversified economies. The pandemic laid bare just how fragile Las Vegas's economic foundation really is. In 2020, unemployment in the city spiked to nearly 34%, among the highest rates in the entire nation. When the Strip shut down, tens of thousands of workers lost income overnight. While the raw numbers have recovered, the psychological scars remain. Workers in hotels, casinos, and restaurants know deep in their bones how quickly their livelihoods can vanish. They live with constant low-grade anxiety that the next economic shock, whatever form it takes, could leave them jobless again. Even outside tourism, economic diversification has been painfully slow. Yes, companies like Amazon, Tesla, and SpaceX have operations here. Tech and logistics sectors are growing, but those industries can't yet match the scale of casino and entertainment employment. For every high-paying tech job, there are dozens of service positions paying modest wages. Wages that, as we've already established, don't come close to covering the cost of a median-priced home. The income-to-housing mismatch creates a trap. You need roughly $115,000 annually to comfortably afford the median Las Vegas home, but median household income sits around $72,000. That gap leaves working families perpetually stressed, perpetually one emergency away from financial collapse. And unlike cities with robust middle-class employment across multiple sectors, Las Vegas offers fewer escape routes. Benefits compound the problem. Many hospitality jobs pay tips, but skimp on health insurance, retirement plans, and job security. Families trying to build long-term wealth find it nearly impossible when their employment offers no foundation for saving or investing. Parents worry constantly about what happens if they get sick, if their hours get cut, if the next recession hits. The result is predictable. People leave. They trade the flashing lights of the Strip for quieter cities with lower living costs and more stable job markets. Places where a layoff doesn't mean complete financial devastation, where industries, beyond tourism, provide opportunities for growth. For many, the allure of no state income tax stops mattering when job insecurity keeps them up at night. Las Vegas's economy glitters, but for too many families, it's built on sand. And when the foundation shifts, people don't stick around to see if it holds. They pack up and move to places where their financial future feels less like a gamble. But even if you navigate the job market successfully, even if you manage to build income and stability, there's still one more pressure squeezing residents from every direction. Number 2. The rising cost of ownership that swallows your savings. Las Vegas built its reputation on one powerful selling point: no state income tax. For decades, that slogan drew Californians, retirees, and entrepreneurs by the thousands. But here's the uncomfortable reality residents are discovering in 2025. Even without income tax, the hidden costs of simply owning property in Nevada have climbed so high that families are abandoning the dream anyway. Property taxes may look reasonable on paper, but when paired with median home prices pushing $485,000, annual bills add up fast. Then come HOA fees, which are standard in most Las Vegas suburbs. These monthly charges, often several $100s, pay for landscaping, pool maintenance, and community rules enforcement. For families already stretching to cover a $3,000+ mortgage, HOA fees feel like another tax they can't escape. Insurance is becoming a nightmare. The extreme climate, with its brutal heat, flash floods, and growing wildfire risk, has driven premiums steadily upward. While Nevada hasn't reached the crisis levels of Florida or California yet, residents watch their insurance bills climb year after year with no end in sight. Auto insurance in Nevada ranks among the most expensive in the nation, adding yet another burden to household budgets already stretched thin. Utilities deliver the final blow. Air conditioning alone can add $400 to $700 to monthly bills during summer. Water bills, once negligible, have risen as drought policies tighten and conservation becomes mandatory. Even garbage and sewer fees creep higher as the city strains to support 2.3 million residents with aging infrastructure. What people thought would be minor expenses become major budget items. The problem isn't just affordability, it's unpredictability. Newcomers arrive expecting financial relief, only to find themselves juggling bills that increase every season. The lack of stability makes it impossible to plan, impossible to save, impossible to get ahead. Retirees on fixed incomes feel especially squeezed. Young professionals trying to build wealth watch their savings evaporate into maintenance and fees. The irony stings. A city marketed as a tax haven is driving people away because the cumulative small costs add up to more than they'd pay in state income tax elsewhere. When home ownership itself feels like a burden instead of an achievement, when every month brings another surprise expense, the so-called paradise starts looking like a trap. And that brings us to, perhaps, the most overlooked reason people are fleeing Las Vegas in 2025. It's not about money, weather, schools, or safety. It's about something deeper, something harder to quantify, but impossible to ignore once you feel it slipping away. Number 1. The absence of community and belonging. For all the talk of housing costs, brutal summers, and job instability, the single most personal reason people leave Las Vegas comes down to something intangible: community, or rather, the painful absence of it. Las Vegas is a city built for visitors, designed for transient pleasure, engineered for people passing through. And that same energy seeps into daily life for residents in ways that leave many feeling profoundly alone. Think about it. Your neighbors move in, stay a year, and disappear. Apartment complexes turn over constantly. Families chase the promise of sunshine and tax breaks, hit reality, and exit as quickly as they arrived. For people trying to build lasting friendships, trying to create the kind of deep social networks that sustain communities through hard times, it feels like running on a treadmill that never stops. You're surrounded by 2.3 million people, yet you can't find roots. Many newcomers expect the city's vibrant social scene to translate into genuine local culture. Instead, they discover the opposite. Unless you're into nightlife or gambling, Las Vegas can feel surprisingly hollow. Parents lament the shortage of family-friendly community activities compared to other metros. Outdoor enthusiasts have options like Red Rock Canyon or Mount Charleston, but daily life still revolves around casinos and entertainment. That disconnect leaves people feeling unmoored, like they're living in a giant theme park instead of a real city. The economic churn compounds the isolation. When your neighbors work in hospitality, gaming, or other transient industries, their schedules are chaotic. Shift work, weekend hours, constantly changing jobs, it all makes building consistent relationships nearly impossible. Social ties require regular contact and shared experiences, but in Las Vegas, everyone's always coming or going, working odd hours, struggling just to stay afloat. Here's the devastating irony. Despite 2.3 million residents, Las Vegas can feel lonelier than small towns with a fraction of the population. The city's explosive growth hasn't been matched with community infrastructure. Libraries, cultural centers, neighborhood traditions, the social glue that binds people together is sparse. Without that foundation, many residents never truly feel at home. They exist here, but they don't belong. And that's what finally breaks people. After enduring the bills, the summers, the school struggles, and the job anxiety, what ultimately drives them away is the realization that they don't see themselves here long-term. They miss having roots. They miss knowing their neighbors' names. They miss belonging to something larger than themselves. And no amount of neon lights, world-class shows, or tax savings can replace that fundamental human need. In the end, Las Vegas offers spectacle but struggles with substance. It provides entertainment but lacks community. And when people decide they need more than financial incentives and perpetual sunshine, they do exactly what the tourists do. They pack their bags and leave. Las Vegas shines brighter than any city on earth, But beneath that neon glow lies a harsher truth that more people are waking up to every year. The dream they sold you, affordable living, endless sunshine, freedom from state taxes, is crumbling under the weight of reality. Brutal heat, failing schools, housing costs that lock out 2/3 of residents, job markets that vanish overnight, crime that steals your peace, water scarcity that threatens the future, and perhaps, worst of all, the absence of real community that leaves you feeling alone in a city of millions. The people leaving aren't giving up easily. They tried. They wanted to believe. But at some point, you have to choose between the dream you were sold and the reality you're living. And more families every day are making that choice, heading for places where life feels sustainable instead of like a gamble. What do you think? Is Las Vegas still worth the risk? Drop your story in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe because the truth about America's cities is just getting started.